Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.
Hello everyone. So here we are with another episode of Architalks, and for today we're going to discuss the updates in BP344 or the accessibility law. So this will be a three-part series. BP344 is an act to enhance the mobility of disabled persons by requiring certain buildings, institutions, establishments, and other public utilities to install facilities and other devices in consideration of persons with disabilities. The IRR of BP344 was amended and published on the Official Gazette on July 8 of 2024 and became effective 30 days after publication or on August 8, 2024. So let us start with the new provisions, and this is on the anthropometrics pertaining to the requirements for wheelchair spaces. So the new or the amended IRR now requires that the wheelchair dimension will have a minimum length of 1.10 meters and a minimum width of 0.8 meters as compared to the old IRR, which is of smaller dimension. So this wheelchair dimension is to be used when planning for spaces where movement of wheelchair is required. So if you have spaces for wheelchair, the minimum clear space to accommodate one wheelchair and one occupant will have a 900 mm width in consideration of the 800 mm width of the wheelchair. For the turning space of wheelchair, this is the circle diameter turning space. The diameter now is at 1.8 meters as compared to the old IRR, which is at 1.5. So we now have a bigger turning space. For the comfortable clearance for knee and leg space under table, so the minimum clearance here for table will be 0.70 meters, which is lower than the old IRR of 0.74. Now for the reach of wheelchair users, 0.70 meters to 1.2 meters above the finished floor and not less than 0.4 meters from room corners for vertical forward reach. So if you have the wheelchair here, the forward reach here, the maximum height is 1.2 meters above finished floor line maximum reach, and the lowest reach is 0.4 meters. So this is the same as the old provision. For the reach of wheelchair users, if there will be obstructions at least 500 mm deep, this one, the maximum forward reach here will be at 1.10 meters above the finished floor. On the other hand, a comfortable horizontal forward reach for wheelchair users will be at 0.5 to 0.9 meters. Comparing that with the maximum horizontal forward reach, the maximum horizontal forward reach here at eye level will be at 1.10 up to 1.30 meters, while here the horizontal forward reach maximum at shoulder level will be at 0.9 to 1.10 meters. For the side reach without obstruction for wheelchair users, the range will be from 0.2 as the lowest reach up to 1.30 meters above the floor for the maximum reach. So here, sideways, up to 1.3 meters, and the lowest reach here will be at 0.2 meters. For assembly places, we are to provide appropriate wheelchair seating spaces so that if you have a seating capacity of 4 to 50 seats, then you have to provide a minimum of 2 wheelchair seating space And if the seating capacity is 51 to 300, you need to provide 4 wheelchair seating space. And if the seating capacity will be at 301 to 500, then you need 6 wheelchair seating spaces. Take note that when seating capacity exceeds 500, an additional wheelchair seating space shall be provided for each total seating capacity increase of 100 seats. So it means that if you have 600 seats, then you need 7 wheelchair spaces. Okay, so that the wheelchair space that you are to provide must have a width of 0.9 as mentioned earlier, and the length will consider the length of the wheelchair at 1.10. Usually, the wheelchair space shall be provided near the exit ways. The next part of our discussion will be on the barrier-free facilities and features. So here we are going to discuss the accessible routes, and that will include ramps and stairs, drop sidewalk, drop curb, curb ramp, and curb cutout. So these accessible routes shall be established within the 500-meter radius of the facility. So for this video, we will only be focusing first on ramps and stairs, and then we will discuss on the next video our requirements for drop sidewalks, drop curb or drop curbs, the curb ramp or curb cutout, as well as parking spaces or the barrier-free facilities outside of buildings. So for now, we will concentrate first on the discussion for the requirements for ramps and stairs. So for accessible ramps, we have to check the different component of ramps. So if there will be changes in level, you are required to provide a ramp, except when it is served by a drop sidewalk or there is already a drop sidewalk available, a curb ramp, an elevator like this, or a mechanical device like this. So you have stairs, and you may not provide a ramp because you already have a mechanical device here. And this is a curb ramp. So if you are going to provide a ramp, the minimum clear width requirement is at 1.2 meters, and this 1.2 meters is the same requirement as in the old IRR. However, if we are to take a look at the requirement now for the maximum gradient, the amended IRR now requires a 1.2 gradient or slope, meaning 1 unit rise for every 20 units distance. So 1.12 has been now superseded by 1:20. So which means that for every 1 meter rise, you have a 20 meters distance. But it doesn't mean that your ramp will have a straight run of 20 meters. You have to provide landing at a certain point. Now, in special cases, depending on the length to be covered, for example, you will have a very long ramp, then a steeper gradient may be allowed. So you can have a maximum slope of 1:15. So if you are to take note of this gradient, if you have a straight run for one ramp, then you can have a maximum distance for the ramp at 10.5 meters, which means that the maximum rise there will be at 0.70 if you are having a 1:15 gradient. If you have a ramp with a total length of more than 10.5 meters, so that will be or longer than that, then you are to provide now an intermediate landing. So this intermediate landing will have a minimum length of 1.8 meters. So if your slope is 1:20, then the distance of the ramp can be up to 15 meters. While if your slope is 1:15, then your maximum distance will be at 10 meters for the run of the ramp. You are to provide also a level area here at the lower end as well as the upper end of the ramp at 1.8 meters. And at both sides of the ramp, you are to provide a raised edge like this, and that will have a minimum height of 100 mm. The ramp shall be provided with tactile warning strips at the head, at the top, at the foot, as well as if you have landings. The warning title block shall have a depth of 600 mm or a width here of 600 mm and at a distance of 300 mm from the edge of the ramp, or from at the center of the ramp. 300 mm, you have the 600 mm width for the tactile surface. So this one is 300 and this one should be at 600 mm with the tactile strip. So any ramp with a rise greater than 200 mm and leads down towards an area where vehicular traffic is possible, like for example, you have a heavy traffic here, then you are to provide a railing across the full width of its lower end. So if you have the width here of the ramp, then you have the same width for the railing, and that should be at a distance not less than 1.8 meters from the foot of the ramp. So from here, the foot of the ramp at a distance of 1.8 meters minimum. So this type of ramp is not recommended because it already protrudes to the sidewalk width. So we now go to the handrails for ramps and stairs. So handrails shall be required for accessible ramps for changes in grade higher than 170 mm. So if this will be already a change in level higher than 170 mm or 0.17 meters, then you are to provide handrails, and they shall be at both sides of the ramps and stairs. The accessible ramps at 3 meters or more or 3000 mm or more, you are to provide intermediate handrails at the center. So if you have this width at 3 meters already or more, then provide this intermediate handrails. Now the handrails on both sides of the ramps and stairs will be at 700 mm, this one, and 900 mm from the finished floor of the ramp and stair to the top of the handrails. So this 0.70 meter high handrail is to be used for persons on wheelchair, while the 0.90 meters high handrail will be used for persons walking. So a 300 mm horizontal extension of the handrail shall be required at the upper and at the lower end of ramps and of staircases. The recommended is a double J-type handrail support at this end. The upper handrail extensions at the top and bottom of the stairs and ramps shall be marked with the destination in Braille here, accompanied also by written characters. Handrails and grab bars that require full grips shall have a round cross-section with a diameter of 1:316 inch or 30 mm to 1:3764 inch or 40 mm here around, as compared to the old provision of only 30 to 50 mm, a little larger. The handrails attached to walls shall have a minimum clear distance of 50 mm from the wall. So if you have a wall, or if you have a baluster, also it is at a 50 meters distance. And the handrails on ledges like this shall have a minimum clear distance from the top of the ledge at 40 mm. This is the same provision as in the old IRR. So handrail shall be continuous throughout the entire length of the ramp or stairs and around landings less than 2.1 meters in length, except where it is intersected by an alternative path of travel or has an entry door leading into it. The stair handrail shall be bent down at a radius of 150 mm back to the newel post. This is for the staircases. So complementary ramps like this, or lifts, or escalators shall be provided where staircases are present along an accessible route. So this kind of facility shows no concern for the needs of wheelchair users. So we now proceed with the stair details. The uniform risers will be at 150 mm maximum, so the maximum height of the riser will be at 0.15, and the stair tread will have a minimum of 300 mm. Nosing shall not protrude like this. Rather, all risers shall have a backward tilt of 25 mm. The tread surfaces and nosing shall be slip resistant in wet and dry conditions. The stair nosing also shall be durable and slip resistant in wet and dry conditions with a minimum luminance contrast of 30% to the stair risers and treads so that it is visible for partially blind persons. A tactile strip or a warning tactile block like this shall be provided with a depth of 600 mm with a length spanning the entire width of the stairs and shall be installed at a 300 mm distance before the hazardous areas or intended stops, such as sudden changes in floor levels and at the top, bottom, and intermediate landing of stairs. Winding and spiral staircases shall not be allowed due to their non-uniform steps. Rather, straight or L-shaped staircases with leveled landings shall be used. Accessible staircases shall have a clear width of 1.5 meters, and this minimum width allows for two-way traffic. Landings on the staircase shall be provided at a distance where rest is deemed appropriate, so that if you have an interval of 3 meters already, maximum, then you are to provide a landing with a minimum depth of 1.5 meters. A clear space of at least 1.2 meters in depth shall be provided before and after a staircase, so no obstruction whatsoever in that particular space. The landing shall be unobstructed by protrusions such as door swings. So you are to provide that 1.2 meters clear distance or clear space from the edge of the staircase, and that no door shall protrude within that space. A raised edge with a minimum of 100 mm here shall be installed on both sides of a staircase except when a wall is in place. So this is similar to the requirement for ramps. So that is the end of my presentation for the first part of my discussion for the amended IRR of BP344. So watch out for my succeeding videos.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.